survival horror is kind of huge right now. With the Dead Space remake, Fatal Frame coming back, and 3 new Silent Hill games. I mean, things have already been pretty crazy for horror regarding the mainstream Hollywood movies, but even for video games, developers seem to be kind of stepping things up. But one of the most anticipated projects is the Resident Evil 4 remake, directed by Neil Druckmann. But yeah, in all seriousness, it does look pretty good. But as tempting as it is to talk about that, and I'm sure I will at some point, today I would like to talk about the sort of controversial Resident Evil movie. No, not the Paul W.S. Anderson films, but the one that released last year, Welcome to Raccoon City. Now, this film's weird.
Body up by the Spencer mansion.
You think it's connected?
What's the Spencer mansion?
Well, as I think most of you know, Oswald Spencer was the creator of the Umbrella Corporation. And the mansion was his home until the year of his death in... What the fuck are you doing here, Leon?
It's sort of faithful, but it really isn't in some ways. And the critical reception was not nice. Fans also seem pretty divided. There are definitely a group of people who enjoy this film, but there are just as many people who kind of despise it. So today I would like to kind of talk about this film. I recently rewatched it, and I gotta say, as flawed as this movie is, and there's certainly a lot of missed potential and some strange characterizations of certain beloved characters, I think it's still a solid time overall. So, Welcome to Raccoon City is sort of a retelling of Resident Evil 1 and 2, but it sort of takes liberties in how the plot progresses. We sort of follow these group of characters as this city slowly kind of turned to shit. Also, minor spoilers. I'm not even sure if you can spoil a movie like this, but here I go. I really like the first 3 minutes of it, even though it almost feels like it's from a different movie. It's like very atmospheric. It sort of builds character of Claire up and like what traumatized her in the orphanage. They just completely abandon this plot point. I mean, it kind of gets brought up again later, sort of, but it gets abandoned quickly. So as much as I like the opening 2-3 minutes for how atmospheric it is, it's just sort of a direction the film just kind of completely throws out the window. That being said, I think the film is overall paced well. There's always something that's going on that's creepy, whether you slowly start to see the citizens of Raccoon City just behave oddly. Like there could be a woman with like blood trickling down her eye, or people will start banging on the police gate. It's really creepy, and well, there is certainly this B-movie feel to it because the dialogue certainly can be better in some places.
Yeah, Leon S. Kennedy. What's the S stand for, stupid?
I really enjoy the first half, and the second half, which kind of more veers off towards action and all that. But I mentioned earlier there was some missed potential, so I think the best way to explore this is through the characters. Some of the characters, I think they did a good job of adapting. Characters like Jill and Chris, while the writing could be better, they feel pretty close. Jill in particular, they seem to have the writer or writers, I'm not sure how many people were involved in that department, seem to kind of take note from kind of her looks and personality from Resident Evil 3 Remake, which is my favorite reincarnation of Jill easily. And I like that. And Chris never really had much of a personality in Resident Evil 1, but the actor, was it Robbie Amell? If I butchered that name, I'll correct that. Did pretty good. However, Leon and Claire, they're not miscast per se, but the way the story characterizes them just felt off to me. Claire's just like this supposed badass character, and don't get me wrong, I like badass women in movies, but she just feels kind of flat and not really likable. Like the opening, as I alluded to earlier, sort of hints towards this traumatic past that she had, and possibly her empathy, but that doesn't get explored much. There's this certain plot point with Lisa Trevor, if you played the games, particularly the Resident Evil 1 remake, you'll know what I'm talking about. The direction they took with this certain character was really interesting and different, but it doesn't go anywhere, which just really disappointed me. And yeah, Leon,
Stupid.
the in the original Resident Evil 2, or maybe more so in the Resident Evil 2 remake, because as great as the game RE2 was, from a story perspective, it kind of shows its age, like in terms of writing. But in the Resident Evil 2 remake, we get an idea that Leon's someone who really wants to help people. He's this naive rookie cop. But it's a simple characteristic, but you really connect with him. It makes sense why he's plunging himself into dangerous situation after dangerous situation, but in the Welcome to Raccoon City, he's just really scared and insecure, and that's fine. I think it's great kind of having a character who feels like he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, who slowly overcomes his fear, but no, the character writing isn't that compelling. But worst of all is Wesker. There's zero resemblance to Wesker compared to the games. In the games, Wesker kind of starts out as this sort of manipulative guy who's pulling all the strings and all that, but in this one, he's just into making a profit, and he kind of betrays the team so he can survive and possibly gain money.
Come on, Joe, don't look at me like that. It's just money.
Which also leads me to the fact that the way the virus, the way the virus kind of broke out kind of makes sense, but the way certain people can't get infected, which kind of gets explored later, I don't understand.
And you and all your police buddies, you're not sick like the rest of the town just because you got a good immune system, right?
The story doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and while it does an interesting job of like kind of keeping things going, and I think the directing is pretty solid overall. There's a sequence where Chris is fighting a bunch of zombies in the dark, and while it could have been edited slightly better, it's still kind of tense, and I like that. And even the Spencer mansion makes an appearance, and I really liked it. When they entered the mansion, it really looked like it was from the Resident Evil 1 remake. And the fact that the way they run into a bunch of zombies instead of just one or two zombies in a dimly lit room, it was a really intense sequence I liked, and the action was pretty fun overall. So, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. It's fun. There's definitely a lot of references if you played the game. So, you could say that's cheap fan service, but I liked it, the way they sort of recreated a lot of the areas from the games, or little details, or even how when the title pops up, it resembles the 1996 original Resident Evil game. So despite the issues I have from a story and character perspective, and how the writing definitely could have been better and could have worked on a lot of the plot holes, Welcome to Raccoon City is kind of overlooked, and it's a really fun time, regardless of whether you're a fan or just someone who likes watching zombie films. So all in all, Welcome to Raccoon City is a recommendation. It's not a fantastic movie. There are certainly zombie films that are better written, or have better stories, or better directed, but this is definitely on the more fun side. The movie is paced consistently, there's always something going on, and the action's fun, and the way they sort of slowly build up towards the apocalypse in the first half was really cool. We're most likely never getting a sequel to Welcome to Raccoon City, which does make me a bit sad, because it's one of those films that I feel like a sequel can really build on its strengths and just sort of improve on certain aspects. But that being said, what we got isn't all that bad, and if you were skeptical on watching this movie, maybe give it a try.